Have you ever been accused of stealing something you were never even allowed to touch? Imagine that for a moment. The headlines scream at you, politicians point fingers, strangers whisper that you're draining the country. But behind the scenes, the truth is almost absurd: you're locked out of the very things you're accused of taking. This isn't a hypothetical scenario, it's the lived reality for millions of immigrants in Britain, a profound paradox at the heart of our national discourse. This documentary aims to dissect the prevailing narrative surrounding immigration in the UK, moving beyond simplistic slogans to reveal a complex, often contradictory, reality. We will explore how political rhetoric and media sensationalism have shaped public perception, creating a powerful illusion that masks the significant contributions and systemic disadvantages faced by immigrant communities. This isn't just about economics, it's about justice, dignity, and the very fabric of a fair society. For years, we've been told that migrants are a burden. That they come to Britain to take, not to give. Nigel Farage has built entire campaigns on the idea that immigrants weigh heavily on the state, dragging down the welfare system, clogging up the NHS, taking more than they contribute. It's a simple story. A compelling one. But like many simple stories, it falls apart the moment you scratch the surface. Because here's the twist: most immigrants in Britain can't claim benefits at all. Not because they don't want to, not because they don't need to, but because they're legally forbidden from doing so. This isn't an oversight, it's a deliberate policy enshrined in law, designed to restrict access to the social safety net. It's written on their visas: no recourse to public funds, NRPF. For words that change everything. This condition, primarily stemming from the Immigration and Asylum Act 1999 and tightened significantly since, applies to a vast array of visa categories, including skilled workers, students, and many family visa routes. It's a cornerstone of the UK's hostile environment policy. What does it mean? It means no universal credit, no housing benefit, no child benefit, no disability benefits, no safety net in times of crisis. You can live here, you can work here, you can pay taxes here, but when you fall, the state steps back and lets you hit the ground. This policy effectively creates a two-tiered system of citizenship, where contributions are mandatory but protections are conditional. Now, pause and think about that. Imagine being in a foreign country, paying into its welfare system with every payslip, every tax deduction, every bit of national insurance. You're helping to fund the roads, the schools, the hospitals. But when you need help yourself, the answer is a closed door. This isn't just an economic exclusion, it's a profound social and psychological burden, fostering insecurity and vulnerability. The implications of NRPF are devastating. It pushes individuals and families into destitution, homelessness, and reliance on charities. Children born in the UK to parents with NRPF can find themselves without basic support, despite being British citizens. This policy, often justified as a deterrent to benefit tourism, instead creates immense hardship for those legally residing and contributing to the UK. And yet, in the public imagination, migrants are painted as benefit scroungers. It's almost comical, if it weren't so damaging. This narrative conveniently ignores the legal and systemic barriers that prevent access, instead blaming individuals for a situation imposed upon them by the state. It's a powerful political tool, deflecting attention from policy failures onto a convenient scapegoat. But let's go further. Because the story doesn't end with benefits. There's the NHS. For decades, it's been Britain's proudest achievement, free at the point of use, accessible to all. Except, not all. The narrative of immigrants draining the NHS is one of the most persistent and politically charged myths. If you're an immigrant with a visa, you don't just contribute to the NHS through your taxes. You also have to pay an extra fee, the Immigration Health Surcharge, IHS. Introduced in 2015 and repeatedly increased, it now stands at £1,035 per adult per year. For children, it's £776 per year. More than £1,000 every single year, per person. A family of 4? Over £4,000. Paid up front, before you even set foot in a hospital. This fee is mandatory for most visa applicants, regardless of whether they actually use NHS services. It's a significant financial burden, especially for families and those on lower incomes. So when politicians say immigrants drain the NHS, they leave out a crucial detail: immigrants are paying extra for the same services everyone else uses. This is not merely contributing, it's a form of double taxation. They pay their income tax, national insurance, and VAT like any other resident, all of which fund the NHS, and then they pay the IHS on top. It's like being charged double at a restaurant, and then being accused of dining and dashing. This surcharge is a direct revenue stream for the NHS, meaning immigrants are not just contributing their fair share, but an additional share. This fact fundamentally undermines the drainer narrative, revealing it as a politically convenient falsehood. Consider the ethical implications. Many essential workers, including doctors, nurses, and care staff, are immigrants. They are on the front lines of healthcare, often working long hours in challenging conditions, yet they are subject to this additional charge. They are literally keeping the NHS afloat while simultaneously being told they are a burden and forced to pay extra for the very service they provide. Let's put a human face to these policies. Take Maria, a nurse from the Philippines. She works 12-hour shifts in a London hospital, caring for patients, sometimes skipping meals to keep up with the workload. Her taxes fund the NHS. Her labor keeps it alive. And on top of that, she pays the Immigration Health Surcharge every year. Yet if Maria were to lose her job, she couldn't claim universal credit to pay her rent. She couldn't get the safety net she helps fund. And still, she might open a newspaper one morning and see herself described as a burden. Or picture Ahmed, a delivery driver in Manchester. Every week, he pays VAT on his fuel, taxes on his wages, national insurance contributions like any other worker. He contributes to the local economy with every delivery. But if his van breaks down and he can't afford repairs, he can't turn to the state for support. No matter how much he's contributed, the answer is always the same: not for you. His hard work and tax payments are accepted, but the reciprocal social contract is denied. These are not isolated cases, they represent the daily reality for millions. Immigrants fill critical labor shortages in sectors from agriculture to hospitality, care work to construction. They are entrepreneurs, starting businesses and creating jobs. They are students, enriching our universities and contributing to future innovation. Their economic activity generates significant tax revenue, far exceeding the cost of any services they might hypothetically access. Studies consistently demonstrate that immigrants are net contributors to the UK economy. They tend to be younger, more likely to be in work, and less likely to claim benefits than the native-born population. Their presence helps to offset the challenges of an aging population, bringing dynamism and diversity to the workforce. The idea that they are a drain is not supported by empirical evidence, it is a political construct. So here we have a paradox. Immigrants are paying into a system they can't access. They're contributing more than they receive. And yet the public perception, shaped by years of headlines and speeches, is the exact opposite. This disconnect is not accidental, it is the result of deliberate political choices and media amplification. How did this disconnect happen? Part of the answer lies in politics. Blaming immigrants is a convenient distraction. When hospitals are underfunded, when waiting times are long, when housing is scarce, it's easier to say, it's their fault. Pointing at immigrants deflects attention from deeper, systemic issues: decades of austerity, underinvestment in public services, economic inequality, and a housing crisis driven by inadequate supply and speculative investment. This strategy is a classic political maneuver: create an external enemy to unite a population and divert scrutiny from internal policy failures. By framing immigrants as the cause of societal problems, politicians can avoid accountability for their own decisions and policies. It's a powerful tactic that exploits existing anxieties and prejudices within the general public. And then there are the tabloids. Fear sells. A headline that screams "Immigrants drain welfare" will always get more clicks than "Immigrants pay more in than they get out." Nuance doesn't sell newspapers. Outrage does. The media plays a crucial role in amplifying these narratives, often simplifying complex issues into sensationalist soundbites that reinforce negative stereotypes. This creates a feedback loop where political rhetoric influences media coverage, which in turn shapes public opinion, making it harder to introduce factual counter-narratives. But to understand how entrenched these myths are, we need to look at history. Because this story isn't new. In the 19th century, Irish immigrants fleeing famine were described as a drain on Britain. In the mid-20th century, the Windrush generation from the Caribbean were told they were taking jobs, taking houses, taking benefits. Later, Eastern Europeans faced the same accusations. Every generation of newcomers gets cast in the same role, the scapegoat. The script doesn't change, only the actors do. This historical pattern reveals a deep-seated tendency to blame the other during times of social and economic stress. This historical context is vital for immigrant communities and social activists. It shows that the current challenges are not unique but part of a recurring pattern of marginalization. Understanding this history empowers communities to challenge these narratives, recognizing them as tools of division rather than accurate reflections of reality. It also highlights the resilience and enduring contributions of immigrant groups throughout British history. And yet, time after time, the evidence shows the opposite. Studies consistently reveal that immigrants contribute more in taxes than they take in services. They tend to be younger, healthier, and more likely to be in work. They fill gaps in the labor market, from care homes to construction sites. They are, quite literally, keeping the country running. Their economic and social contributions are undeniable, yet they are systematically undervalued and often ignored in public discourse. But here's the tragic irony: while they're propping up the system, they're denied the very protections that system offers. And when times get tough, when jobs are lost, when illness strikes, they're left to fend for themselves. This creates immense precarity, forcing individuals into exploitative labor conditions or destitution, all while contributing significantly to the national economy. Imagine the emotional toll of that. The anxiety of knowing you're paying into a safety net you can never use. The fear of losing everything, with no cushion to break your fall. The frustration of being told you're a drain, when in fact you're the one subsidizing others. This constant state of insecurity impacts mental health, family stability, and overall well-being. It undermines the very notion of a fair society. This isn't just about economics. It's about dignity. It's about fairness. And it's about truth. The policies of NRPF and IHS are not just financial mechanisms, they are instruments of social control and exclusion, designed to create a class of residents with fewer rights and greater vulnerabilities. Challenging these policies is not just about economic justice, it's about upholding fundamental human rights and ensuring equitable treatment for all who contribute to society. So let's strip away the myths, armed with facts and a commitment to truth. Myth: immigrants come to Britain for benefits. Reality: they're legally barred from claiming them through the no recourse to public funds condition, a deliberate policy choice. Myth: immigrants are a drain on the NHS. Reality: they pay over £1,000 a year just to access it, on top of their taxes, through the Immigration Health Surcharge, directly funding the service. Myth: immigrants take more than they give. Reality: they give far more than they're allowed to take, consistently contributing more in taxes and labor than they consume in public services. When you see the truth laid out like that, the narrative collapses. It's not immigrants who are exploiting the system. It's the system exploiting them. It's a system that demands their labor, their taxes, and their fees, while denying them the basic protections and safety nets afforded to others. This exploitation is not accidental, it is a direct consequence of political decisions designed to create a vulnerable, easily scapegoated population. And maybe that's the real scandal. Not that immigrants are draining Britain, but that Britain is draining immigrants, taking their labor, their taxes, their fees, while shutting them out of the protections everyone else enjoys. This is a profound injustice that undermines the principles of fairness and equality that Britain often claims to uphold. So the next time you hear someone say, immigrants are a burden, remember Maria in her hospital ward, Ahmed on his delivery route, the countless others working, paying, contributing. Remember that they are keeping Britain afloat, not dragging it down. They are the backbone of many essential services, the innovators in our economy, and the vibrant threads in our social fabric. The real question isn't whether immigrants are a burden on the state. The real question is, why does the state burden them so heavily, while insisting it's the other way around? And once you ask that question, the story begins to change. It shifts from one of blame to one of systemic injustice, from a narrative of scarcity to one of exploitation. This analysis reveals a deliberate political strategy that uses misinformation to divide and distract. It's time to challenge this narrative. We must demand transparency, accountability, and policies that reflect the true contributions of all residents. Educate yourself and others, share this information. Challenge misleading headlines and political rhetoric with facts. Engage in respectful but firm conversations about the realities of immigration. Support immigrant communities, advocate for the abolition of no recourse to public funds and the Immigration Health Surcharge. Support organizations working to provide aid and legal assistance to those affected by these policies. Hold politicians accountable, contact your elected representatives. Demand that they address the systemic issues of underfunding and inequality, rather than scapegoating immigrant communities. Vote for leaders who champion inclusive policies and reject divisive rhetoric. Your voice has power. Let's work together to dismantle these harmful myths and build a society where everyone who contributes is treated with dignity and fairness.